He's frozen in time.
He's moving around, but he can't hear us. But so today's episode, I really wanted to kind of dive into money. So if you can see behind me, how do we teach our kids about money, and how do how do we share the value that money has in our lives? Because unfortunately, to survive in this current society, you have to have money. So it's how do we share that with our kids? How do we teach them about saving? Do we teach them about saving? Um, and all of those questions. So, does anybody want to kind of jump in right off the bat and talk about
Yeah,
anything that they? Go ahead, Tommy.
ironically, this was the topic of conversation last night for our Blending the Family podcast. My wife and I talked about because this has been, coming from a blended family, this has been one of those things where my wife and I both come from marriages where the former partner was in charge of the finances, and both my wife and I were pretty much in the dark. So for us, that has been the biggest hurdle of getting the finances first, um, down to just her and I getting that out, and then I grabbed one. We have this three-ring binder that we have all these little pockets, and this is my son's. We have one for both Connor and Becca, and in those pockets we have, for example, I'll just go through it. We have tithing for 10%. We have uh, short-term savings, long-term savings, and then fund money. All these pockets. And so what we want to teach the kids is how to not only learn how to save money, but what is money all about? In school you learn, all right, what a quarter looks like, what a dime looks like, but you don't learn about, how do you create a checking account? What do you do? I mean, what is a credit card? And so when the kids say, well, you can just use your credit card or debit card, we've explained to them what a credit card means, the responsibility, what a debit card means as far as responsibility goes. But like I said last night, we were talking about, for in our household, we're huge fans of Dave Ramsey. And so one of the things I was just reading about Dave Ramsey was that what my wife and I are doing is insane and wrong. And what I mean by that is I have my own uh, I have my own stuff in one financial institution. She has her stuff in another financial institution, and we're now probably the end of March we'll have both of us under one, finally under one financial uh, bank. And so that's been the biggest thing, is taking all of my stuff, all of her stuff, and we'll finally put it under one big stuff, as George Carlin would say.
Well, that's cool. I know when I was my first marriage, all of our money was right out the bat. I mean, we were high school. We were together in high school. So as soon as we moved in together, um, I just put her on my checking account, and so all of our money was in that account. And then we got divorced. I wanted to remove her from the account, but I couldn't without her being there. And so I tried to close the account, but they wouldn't close the account because she had to be there. And then she had wrote, so I just stopped using it and I started up another account. Well, then she wrote a bunch of bad checks,
Oops.
and I got stuck. This is back, when people used checks. uh, and I got stuck with about $800 in bills because she refused to pay it, and I couldn't, you know, continue to build my credit without paying that off. So it kind of hurt me. And then, so when I got married this time, I'm like, we're going to keep separate checking accounts. I'm not making that mistake again. Uh, and so I just completely kept everything separate. And and it was like that for probably, I mean, we were together for like 8 years. So it was like that for probably 7 of the 8 years. In the last year, I was working at General Motors. I went out and I bought a new Chevy Traverse, which was like a $40,000 vehicle, and she had gone through nursing school, so she started her nursing job, and I was like, well, now that we've got all these bills and stuff, let's put some things in our names instead of my name and your name. And so then I started to combine everything. And luckily, not too much was combined because then when we got divorced, it wasn't too bad. But it was like I got burned a little bit on that second time. So I'm real hesitant when it comes to combining accounts in any form. And I know it's probably a negative view on things, but when it comes to my money, I want to know that what I work hard for, that I get to keep or I can use towards the things that I want to use them towards.
I don't think that's negative, Chris. I think that comes from experience, and it's what you're comfortable with. I think that the key is, for any couple, and then this translates down into the kids, is to talk about it, is to have that as an open issue and say, well, this is what I'm comfortable with. And if someone else isn't comfortable with that, then you have to talk through and work out some type of arrangement where, okay, I understand that we need this joint thing so that we can operate jointly, but you know what? I need this other thing that's mine where some of this money is going because, I've been burned, and you're just going to have to understand that, and I can't live any other way, and that's just me. So, but I think having that out in the open, because otherwise financial secrets are things that definitely impact couples. Someone feels betrayed. If you've put away $50,000 that your wife didn't know about, it's like, hey, honey, this is great. I've got this. You never knew I had this 50,000. Like, and you think she might be happy about that. It's like, but you didn't tell me. You kept a secret from me,
Right.
and even though you're going on some grand vacation, it's like, but you kept a secret from me about money. And so I think bringing your children into, not stuff they don't need to know, but into the dialogue of, like, we're going to be open about money, we're going to discuss it, this is your allowance, this is what I can't afford to do this for you this week, or I can, or whatever it is, and setting boundaries and a framework for that, I think will encourage the kids to understand that this is not something that's just kept secret when they grow up. This is something that people talk about and have a dialogue about.
hmm Eric, did you want to add on to that?
Oh, sure. I mean, I feel like, one of the best things that we can do as modern dads is really understand our own relationship with money, and really find peace first before we start, diving into the world of scarcity. And I mean, I remember specifically when I was a kid, I wanted something, and my mom said, well, money doesn't grow on trees. And like quickly I said, yeah, it does. It's made out of paper, and it was a very, I mean, it is like that memory has stayed in my head and heart for a really long time. Is like our relationship with money is so crucial, and how we communicate that. And I mean, right now I'm just in a place where I'm just trying to figure out what's my stuff and what's my baggage, around money, so that when I speak to the kids about it, I don't kind of pre-stack their deck to be in scarcity around it, because I believe that we are all creators. We are all able to generate everything that we need. And right now, the U.S. dollar is the environment we're in. But I'm also on the board of an alternative currency. I mean, we have something called Ithaca hours in my community, which is currency that keeps commerce local. And so I'm really rethinking what money is to me before I, in essence, want to teach or figure that out with my kids. So I'm in a big transition around it. So I don't have any hard and fast answers. I know that the way I used to look at it was a little somewhat out of scarcity. So I'd imagine it's a little refreshing to them, to know that I'm looking at it as if it's a fresh and new subject. Because I mean we're in a very, you know, huge point of transition, you know, just globally and as well as just as a country. So you know, I feel like all of our relationships with money is about to change in a huge way, and not many of us really know what that's going to look like afterwards. So I just know for sure that it's going to be way different than how I experienced it as a kid. So I'm still kind of, you know, in information sponge mode. You know, so I don't know if anyone else is in this mode with me, but like you know, I'm rethinking everything, and you know, I mean, even like, you know, talking about all the things that money is now allowed to buy. You know, and in terms of, you know, what you know, and is money happiness? All these different kinds of things. Um, but yeah, I mean, these conversations are so alive, but I don't feel like I have a firm grasp of what the new answers are going to be. So I'm as curious as all of you might be, because all of my early traditions I've just kind of thrown out, and so I'm writing a brand new book on it.
That's awesome. Yeah, one of the things I went through when it came to money is I found myself chasing job after job after job, you know, going for the next big paying job, and it's like, oh, got an opportunity here that pays more. Let's go do that. Got an opportunity here. Let's go do that. And so, like you, Eric, I'm in this new kind of world when it comes to money that I left a job that was financially secure, working for an automotive. I mean, not that the automotive industry is secure. I think we all know that that's recently gone through a big bunch of turmoil. But when I was there, you know, there's guys that had been working there 40 years that consistently made a certain, you know, a comfortable living for their household. And when I told them I was leaving, everybody I talked to at the plant thought I was completely nuts. Like, how could you possibly give this up? Like, you have any idea how many people fight to get a job like this? And I'm like, yeah, but this job, this money that I've been chasing my whole life, has taken away from the thing that matters most to me, and that's my kids and my family and all of that. So I was putting the value of it really high, when I was putting the value of it higher than what really mattered to me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been kind of a struggle now that I'm working from home and running my own businesses, and it's like, okay, now I've got to figure out how I'm going to make this month's rent, next month's rent, and then the car payment. And it's like, okay, I've got this credit card bill coming up. I got to go to Florida next week for a couple of days. How do I get there? You know, so I have to really line up what I'm doing for my work in order to pay for the things that I want to do. And it's been kind of neat because my son's 14, so I can have that conversation with him. Like, if I do this, this, and this, I can make this kind of money. Or I can go get a job, and I'll know that every week, as long as I show up and work my 40 hours, I'll get this amount of money. But if I do that, then I give up. You don't see me. I'm not here. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. So it takes away. Your choices really give you your the options that you have with life, and it's a give and take either way. So, David, you there, Davido?
Yeah, I'm here, brother.
Okay. Well, I was curious what you kind of just recently went through a job change and stuff. How'd you kind of share that with your kids and what have you?
Well, first of all, I had a very different experience with money. I wasn't, we didn't have very much of it when I was growing up. We lost our house. My dad would go from one job to the next, and just like my mother, trying to live hand to mouth. So there wasn't really much time to really allowance, because there wasn't even extra money for that. But there wasn't much time for them to sit down and explain to me how a checkbook works and all this and that. So my first experience with money was when aside from having a job and getting paid, which I did, I was fortunate enough to see my dad own his own business eventually, and seeing the real value of a dollar. So more than anything, that's what I wanted to help my daughters understand, especially because I want them to be independent. I don't want them to have to depend on, some guy that they might be, that might be out of their league, but they're with them because they need to depend on somebody. I don't want that. So it was very important to me. And, my first experience with money, it was just kind of tossed to me when I was like 17, 18 years old, ready to move out, and I needed to get a checkbook, and I needed to do this other stuff. And, cell phones had kind of just started getting used, so I didn't know anything about credit until I went to get a cell phone, and then I was told that I, had to put a deposit down because I needed to build credit, blah, blah, blah. And then came my divorce, as the phone rings. My divorce, and I learned a lot about and how much things really cost, and started to own my own business. And my kids have always gone to work with me, even when I was a firefighter in North Carolina. So they got to see the ugly stuff that went along with being a firefighter, cleaning the truck every day and doing all this other stuff. It wasn't just the fun stuff that they show on TV with any job, even a job at a magazine, which I also ended up getting in my career, was what I thought was a dream job, right? Like a TV job or something like that, or for a movie. And I got that job, and it wasn't like that at all. I still had to bust my hump as much as I did when I was on the roof to keep that check coming. So kind of teaching them about the things in advance that I wasn't given the opportunity, because all I can really hope to do is give my daughter a better chance at life than I had, right? With hope that some of the wisdom that I throw up every day, at least gets a stain on her shirt or something, that sticks with her. So I've been trying to do that, and honestly, switching over from one job, she's seen me work at, Macaroni Grill as a bartender and a server there, and then she seen me in the height of my career as a firefighter and in the real estate business, to the point where I had to go work at a restaurant again just to pay the bills, and just really showing her and speaking openly with them. For years I was single, so when I came home, that's who I had to talk to. So when I talked about my day, they got to hear about all of it, how hard I had to work for certain amounts of money, why this is better, why I now do this, why they're so important to me, and why they really, unfortunately, I wish they didn't have to start thinking about money already, but like we just said, the landscape is changing a lot. We used to be an industrial nation. We're not anymore. So even where we get our money from comes from a completely different place. So it's kind of new. Just like Lehman said, it's a new landscape. So I'm kind of learning the new stuff and trying to bring the stuff that I've learned along the way, and see what we come up with. Really, at this point, I think we can all agree that it's we're all still learning about it because everything's changed.
Yeah, it's definitely it's kind of scary when you look at the inflation rate. I've seen my grocery bill almost double over the past probably 6 or 7 years. Just simply the cost of milk has gone up about $1 from what it used to be, it seems like. So my day-to-day expenses has increased, even though my consumption hasn't. And so it's like, and then increases in pay has kind of flatlined. Like I was talking about before at the automotive plant, your standard employee, what they call tier 1, made it was like 28 something dollars an hour, and then if they were on second shift, they got $1 shift differential. So they basically made $30 an hour. Whereas when I started working there, it was after the bankruptcy, and so I made literally half the amount of money that they made in a union factory, working right next to a guy doing the exact same thing as me, making half as much money, working just as many hours. And then I didn't get the same health insurance, health benefits. I didn't have a lot of that stuff. So you're seeing all of these changes going on with your inflation, with certain industries like you were talking about, David, your industrial industries cutting back the pay, cutting out the unions. You see that happening. And I think that really opens up, I teach this life possibilities course, and that's what we really tried to show people is the age I feel that we're in today, and I'll see if you guys agree with this, is the real age of the entrepreneur. Because what once worked is you create a new business and you open up a factory and you have, all this stuff being made. That's not really how it works anymore. Now it's like the business is something intellectual. It's some sort of intellectual property, like what we're doing here online. There's all kinds of people making money doing things like this. Like Thomas, what you do as a writer, making money as a writer, that's a phenomenal way of making money, and one that gives you the luxury of being able to work from home and do those things, and that's where you start to see more of these stay-at-home dads where they can do their job at home. I have an aunt that works for AT&T, and she's able to work from home, so she doesn't have to go into the office anymore. So a lot of changes in this economic climate.
You're so right, Chris. And one of the things that I said recently to some of my colleagues at the Good Men Project is that, aside from when I first started working in book publishing a long, long time ago, this is the first real job I've had in over 20 years. And by real, I mean I can be my real self. I don't have to self-edit. I don't have to pretend to be someone else. I don't have to dress up in a suit and be a hard ass because that's what's required of me to manage some people or whatever, and get them to respect me in the corporate environment or whatever it is. I can honor who I am. I can speak my mind. I can say what I think, and so part of the key is to find a place or an environment or a job or a position or whatever where who you are actually resonates and vibrates, with people, where you can be that person you really are. But the other aspect of the staying at home and doing it that way, I had a shift in my life a little over a year ago where I'm now a full-time parent for my older son and still half-time for my younger one. And at the same time, right before that shift, I lost the job in New York City, where I was commuting in every day. And so when I looked at both the lifestyle issues and the math itself, like for me to take another job in New York, commute in, costs $4,000 just to commute into New York from the suburbs of Connecticut on a monthly ticket. So for me to do that, to earn enough money to pay my ex-wife, and to pay a sitter or someone to take care of my kid, whom I now have full time, and have anything left over for me. I mean, this makes a tremendous amount more sense. And here's one of them right here. He just
Hello.
Yeah.
hello.
Hey, what's up?
This is
And
James.
that's what's so awesome. What's up, bud?
James, they're off school this week, and James does not like to wear shirts, so here he is.
That's awesome.
You know what?
You go up.
I love the snow.
You love the snow. All right.
Here's Sam.
And there's the all right, we're getting this got
Awesome.
So
No, that's cool. I mean, that's right to the topic, right? So now you get the benefit of them coming into your office during the day and saying hi. So
That's
these
right.
are your coworkers.
that's right. They are. They're my helpers.
The board of
Yeah.
directors.
Yeah,
Right.
Well,
that's-
I mean, and I feel like this is such a profound, fatherhood moment, because, we are living the dream that many fathers can know that they can have because of us, I mean, I put a movie on for my kids before, we started recording, and I put the movie Boyhood on, which is kind of apropos, because like we're times are changing so very much, and I'm so excited for this to be like the new normal, like for us to be, trendsetters, but eventually for many dads to live into this. So I'm really optimistic, and yeah, totally perfect timing.
Yeah, I've been
Absolutely.
wanting to watch Boyhood, so maybe we'll try that one next.
Nah, Dad.
He's like, thumbs down. Yo, my kids are home today too because it's negative. It was -4 this morning. So to your point, Eric, I had my girlfriend's a teacher, and so she had the day off as well. And so I'm like, hey, she was running a load of laundry, but my office is right next to the laundry room, so you hear the washer dryer go, wah, 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 wah. So I'm like, okay, at 2 minutes before 1, I need you to shut off the washer and dryer.
Right.
I need you to take the kids in the other room and put something on and have them just sit and be quiet. And I don't want you making noise either. So, yeah.
Tom just brought up a great point. Since we're talking about money today and talking to our kids about money, how do you guys feel about money? What are your thoughts or attitudes about it? Your issues about it, or
What
What do you mean about?
One of my issues about it is that people can get really greedy over it, and I hate that.
Greedy? Is that what you said? Greedy?
you don't like when people get greedy over money, James?
I think we should go back to trading, to be honest.
Yeah.
Trading. Ooh, I like that idea. I really do too.
Restore the barter system.
Yeah, I think there's real benefit in that. So, cool. So, did
How
you
do you-
guys... Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Chris. So Thomas, to the boys, how do you guys earn money?
Good
Yeah.
project.
No, how do you boys?
Oh, how do I earn money? I
Yeah.
do chores.
Me too.
And I'm going to try to shovel some driveways sometime soon, but unfortunately we're not in like the 1990s or whatever where people... Or no, that would be more like 1970s.
1970s was when Chernobyl went off.
Yeah, it was James.
I don't think
I
that's a
think that
pretty
was the
good
80s,
time.
but no, they do chores around the house. They love to play in the Xbox, and they like to either get a new game occasionally or buy things within the game. So they've done everything from shovel snow to salt the driveway to fold and put laundry away, all sorts of stuff to earn a few bucks towards that.
Do they have the entrepreneurial spirit?
I would say yes.
That's cool. If you guys could start a business, what kind of business would you start?
Chris just says, if you guys could start a business, what would it be?
It would be, for me, it would be selling drinks.
Selling
Drink combinations.
drink combinations.
Yeah,
James is a
yes.
chemist. He loves to mix all sorts of juices and sodas and things. So 10 years from now or 15 years from now, when you see bottles of whatever it is that's really popular out there in the store, it's going to be his.
He would have been the creator of Vanilla Coke then.
Yes.
Oh, that was my favorite.
I know, that was good, wasn't it? Well, James, when you fill up your drink, if you go out to eat somewhere and they have fountain drinks, do you go up and get a little bit of every pop?
Well, I just order a mix of something. Like if they have cranberry and pineapple, I do cranberry pineapple.
Oh, but Chris meant like when we go to Panera, you know how they have the soda machine?
Oh
When you can
yeah. I do that.
I used to do that too. That's cool. That's fun. I gotta say, Thomas, I love right now you're like the daddy jungle gym.
Has anyone ever seen that book called The Daddy Mountain?
No.
I
I'll
think
check
it's
that out.
Michelle Silverstein. Yeah, I think
I don't know.
no, it's Jules Pfeiffer, to whom I'm not related to. He's a cartoonist, but the book is called The Daddy Mountain, and it's a cartoon pages of this little girl climbing up her father, and like, getting her feet onto his shins and then grabbing onto his shirt and then pulling herself up and then, like, goes through step by step, and then finally she's on top of the daddy mountain, like sitting on top of his head, and the mother walks in and like, what is going on here?
That's funny. Yep,
You know,
you're definitely Daddy Mountain.
I'm just so like I'm just in this moment, like, and I'm just looking at how big your smile is, Thomas, and like it has never been bigger than it is now, like in my recollection. So I mean, there's just something magical about being being in this moment with you and just sharing that. So I really want to recognize that, like, we can talk about dollars and cents all we want, but this is what life is about. This is what we're here for, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like it's an awesome moment to be a part of.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, and then here's the other thing too, is since we're all in the same boat, is it's really hard being the, like you were saying earlier, Thomas, the part-time dad. I'm sitting here watching your boys, and I'm just like, not only do I want to sit here and cry because I only have my son every other weekend, and we were talking earlier about taking jobs, and so I've taken a new job where I'm going to be traveling a lot, and so therefore I've already had to speak to my former wife about changing weekends because my schedule is just going to be so crazy. So I hate that. I hate those situations where we are still listed as a part-time parent. One of the things this is something for you, Thomas, is one of the things I want to write about coming up is I don't know how to take care of my kids if they're sick because I've been so ingrained as part-time, and even my mom, my mom was raising just myself, and there were several times where she would have to go to one of her jobs, didn't have the luxury of taking a day off to work to help me out. So it's just funny that even as dads, there are times where we have those moments where we are helpless. And to go back to the original point here of money, a lot of us have been ingrained. I picked up so many bad habits, watching my dad, that I'd still go back to how vital it is for us to figure out our financial health and then take that information and share it with our kids.
I hear you on that feeling of helplessness, because when I used to work in New York and I was 50 miles away from the town where I live and where my kids go to school, there were a few times when I got that call, your son needs to be picked up or this or whatever, because they couldn't reach my ex, and it's like, I'm sorry, I can't get there. It's an hour and a half or 2 hours before I could even be there. So I mean, fortunately, they either reached her, or I think one time I even called our sitter and said, can you get over to the school, because but that's a terrible feeling of helplessness, of just like, because it's pulling on you, but you literally know that you cannot get there.
Right.
I also you just conjured a memory of one of the darker times of my fatherhood when my son was, I took him up to a Syracuse basketball game, and he was, he slept through the whole thing, which was just so uncharacteristic of him. And I didn't want to pay a copay for an emergency room visit, so I just thought that it would just it would take care of itself. But it turned out it was Lyme disease, and my ex-wife was really amazing in stepping up and insisting that he got care. And I mean, that was when my money baggage really showed up, and I'm so grateful. Even though that she and I are no longer together, I'm so grateful to have had her lenses on this situation. And I mean, that really opened my eyes to what I needed to learn about what money was compared to like health and life. So that was like I'm just kind of speaking from humility and just saying like, holy cow, like we have so far to go, in terms of understanding all these trade-offs. And I mean, that's why I'm just, I'm in learner mode right now, because I know that my first 40 years were somewhat wrong. So just by admitting that, that's a big part of my evolution. But the rest is an open book. And I fully admit to now saying, oh wow, if I could have time with my kids or money, I'm going to choose time with my kids. And that's what this time is here for. So that's what that conjured up for me. So thank you guys for sharing so transparently.
Eric, I think there's an aspect to which a dad in the sort of more traditional role, where there's a mother around, or home with the kids, or spending most of the time with the kids. It's not that we, guys, quiet for a second. It's not that we don't, aren't attentive or looking at what's happening with our kids. It's that if the other person has stepped fully into that role, it's like we sort of feel comfortable tuning out. It's like, okay, I don't have to worry about that as much because I know someone else is doing it. And so, but when we're on our own, we have to tune in fully. We have to be fully present, and because the other person isn't there to to do that. So that can be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah, this has been a really cool moment. Eric, you were really hitting on it, but I love the fact that here I am at home. Thomas, you're at home. Eric, you're at home. All of our kids are home with us, and we've taken a moment to do something that we feel is valuable, not only for our own reasons, but for those people watching as well. The fact that the possibility exists in the world today that you can work from home, like the fact that you can have a living and have all the things that you truly want to have, right? So you can have the time with your family and kids that you desire, and you can pay the bills that need to get paid. It's just a matter of finding that niche or the ability to do that. So Tommy, to your point, you're there. You're almost there, buddy. I know that you had to take a job, and that you're going to be traveling and doing things that you might not necessarily want to do, but just keep focused on that entrepreneurial side of things that I was talking about before. I really feel like we're going into this new age of entrepreneurialism, where that will be, this is no longer an industrial age, it's now the entrepreneur's age. And so it's time for us to create and come up with new ways of supporting our families. And to speak to what the kids were talking about with a barter system, I don't see that being so absurd of a system that we evolve into, especially as you watch what's happening to the American dollar, right? That's funny. And Eric, you were talking about that Ithaca has a Ithaca dollar, or
yeah, we have a few things that I'm excited about, and some of it I take more time to be intentional with. But we have Ithaca Hours, which is our paper currency, but we also have a time bank. We call it Tompkins Time Traders, and literally you can trade an hour of babysitting for an hour of dentistry. And and it's amazing. And here's the fun part about that system is that it's not actually taxable, yet. So I mean, we can create a whole, kind of sharing economy that sustains, groups of people. And if we could get involved with, like, get a utility or get a few landlords involved, then we're talking, because everything is barterable. Everything is tradable. And for some reason, we just all think, no, we have to convert this to money first, and then we can make commerce. No, no. Like, we just need to create demand for what we're offering. And then, that's the beauty of this whole new fluid system. And on the flip side, we've seen this before. Like, it was called apprenticeships, and so, like, those things are going to start coming back. But I think some of the apprenticeships are going to be in reverse, because I think our kids are born downloaded with stuff that we're going to get to apprentice from them, and
Right.
and I feel like that's when a true conversion is going to happen, because we're actually going to, get their amazing download, and we're going to, with humility, learn it so that we can create cottage industries within our households and really show up in a different way than we're used to. So I'm excited about that. I have no idea what it's fully going to look like, but I'm in it. I take a spoonful every day.
After.
One of the things I heard on the radio, and I can't remember exactly where this was at, but there was a community of 20-something-year-old people that all came together. They bought an entire community. I don't know if they bought an existing community or they built a community from nothing, but a group of them came together, and they're completely self-sufficient. So they produce their own electricity, their own water, their own waste, their own food, all of that. And so in this community, they're completely self-sufficient. They go and they have their jobs, and all their money kind of gets pooled in to pay for all of the, because they had to buy all this stuff initially, right? So they all took out loans to buy this stuff, and so now they're paying off those loans. But the idea was to, at age 40, to have everything paid off and be able to function as a full society, that group of people, and be able to retire and do the things that they want to do for the rest of their lives from age 40. So there's already things starting to pop up of new ways of thinking and new ways to approach life. And one of the things I found with millennials, which is your new age, I think we're in Generation X, so then the next generation is the millennial age, which I don't know exactly where that cutoff starts, but at any rate, one of the major things that millennials look at when it comes to finding a job is a work-life balance. And if you look at Generation X, one of their primary focuses when it came to finding a job, it was security. So there's definitely a change in the mindset of how we are viewing money and the value that we're putting on it. And I think it's important for us to understand that when we're talking to our kids about it, because their perspective of it, obviously the millennial age group looking at Generation X is like, my dad and mom spent their whole lives working overtime, in this industrial age. They traded their life for a paycheck. I don't want to do that. I want to live the same lifestyle, but I don't want to have to give up all the things that really and truly matter in life just to have those things. So what are some ways that we can create, and that's where they're opening their eyes to ways that they can create opportunities to have the best of both worlds, or at least a happy medium.
Yeah, and Chris, I think it goes beyond work-life balance, which I think is what sort of people were seeking. Like, I know I'm going to work really hard, and I'm going to be really involved in a job that's probably not in my home. So how do I balance that with a home life? How do I put time with my partner or my kids onto my calendar, kind of thing, and make sure that I don't turn into the workaholic? I think now it's work-life integration. I think it's how do I make my work with my life? How do I design a life where what I'm doing is benefiting me financially, but also integrated into and part of the lifestyle that I desire.
Well, it fits right
Yeah.
into what you were talking about before with true authenticity. You're able to live the true you. And so, instead of having to kiss the boss's ass and do all that, you're able to show up as Thomas instead of who Thomas has to be for that person that he's, or the business that he's showing up in, right? I
Right.
mean,
Well, and I think what you kind of alluded to is what one of the books that I read that changed my life. Just in terms of how when I heard these two words called lifestyle design put together, you know, it just flipped a switch inside of me that I never even knew existed, and I'm just like, I've been doing this backwards for a really, really long time. And so, I started doing things like, what do I want to do? I want to travel. Okay, how do I do that? Oh, I'm going to be a baggage handler at the airport part-time, and I'm going to be able to travel for free. So I took a job, for $8.50 an hour that no one else would ever take, with a Cornell degree. And I lived for 18 weeks traveling. And I mean, so, the words lifestyle design are so powerful. And the truth is, it's no longer going to be about money. It's going to be about experiences. And I feel like that 20-something community, I want to find out where they are and move in with them.
I
'Cause,
know,
like,
right?
that sounds like these are the people I want to surround myself with.
hmm
So maybe they won't accept me because I'm over the hill. I don't know, but
Dude, I thought the same thing when I heard that. I was like, this is right up my alley. Like, this is all the things I've thought about. Like, man, wouldn't it be cool if I got all my buddies and we bought a house that was so big. You see a lot of, like, I don't know about you guys, but in my area, you've got these, I don't know, Muslim types where they're real close knit with their family, and their family tradition is that the family all lives together. So the kids get married and they lived with the grandparents or their parents or whatever, and so you have multiple families living in a single home. Um, up until they reach a certain age, and then they move on and get their own place. But it's like, God, what if I could find a house big enough where all my buddies and we could all move in together? I mean, I know I did this in my college days, and we all partied and what have you. But now that we have our own families, like, how could we create something similar to where we're not worried about money? We're all splitting the bill. But we haven't quite figured that all out yet. Sounds like those 20-somethings did, though. It was a really cool story.
well, I mean, my feeling is that we can start. I mean, we're a global group of buddies right now. I mean, we can figure out how to have a global community where we, create some income generating, property and share it, and design a lifestyle accordingly. And I mean, so that's what I love about when groups of new thinkers get together, because anything becomes possible, and we do like a skills inventory rather than a financial inventory. And who knows what we can do? I mean, maybe we should meet offline next week and just like figure something out, because like I'm ready. So.
Okay, I'm set up for that. I'm down. Anybody else?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, cool. Because I think that's the overall goal, right? I don't want money for me, and this is the main point I wanted to make today when we're talking about finances, and I try to talk about this with my kids. For me, when I think about money and what it means to me, I don't want to think about money. I don't want to worry about what things cost. I don't want to say, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that because I can't afford it. I just want to be able to live my life and do the things. Now, obviously, I can't drive a Bugatti or something like that with this mindset. But I just don't want to have to worry about, am I going to be able to feed my kids today? Am I going to be able to pay for my house payment this week or my car payment? Or if my car breaks down, am I going to have enough money to fix it? That kind of stuff, right? I want to get into a lifestyle to where money is inconsequential. I can just live my life and not worry about it. That's my thoughts.
Well, and I think there's another way of looking at it too, which is, I mean, getting back to barter and all these other things, I mean, there's so much alchemy available, when we take the word money out of the equation, we just say, what is your gift for the world? What can you do better than anyone else can? And, how great does it feel to just give that gift to the world and then live in the faith that somebody else wants to give you, their gift, which is, maybe a farm share. I mean, my work with the Game Changer movement, I get sponsored by food. I mean, some people give me $1,000 worth of meat. Some people give me a farm share for the summer, and, I don't need them to turn that into money. I'm just like, okay, you support my work, I'll support yours. So, I mean, I feel like we've got a whole bunch more than we think we have. And I'm excited to look at it differently with all of you guys because it's going to be fun.
That is cool. That is very cool. I love it. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? Because this was a cool show. I want to thank Thomas. I want to thank your kids for coming on. Thanks, guys. It was good having you on.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's cool. And so next week we're going to be getting together and talking about where do you get help for parenting. So if you guys, Thomas, you brought up a good point earlier. If you have a sick kid, if you didn't grow up, with a nurse in the family or something like that, right? Like, what do you do with sick kids? Discipline, help for school, homework, all of those things. So are there certain podcasts that you listen to or books that you've read or shows that you check out? So, and do you ask for help? I know that's one thing I tend to suffer from. I don't tend to raise my hand to ask for help. But so that's next week's episode is, where do we go for help as parents? But this one was good, and I can't wait to talk to you guys offline and figure out how we can come together and really make something awesome here. I mean, this is awesome.
This is awesome.
Something, yeah. So, I love this show. I gotta say, I want to thank you guys again, real quick from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me that you guys come every week and show up and put your heart into the show and share it with all the dads out there. I'm really moved when I think about what this can do for others that watch and learn and realize that they're not alone, or that there are other opportunities out there that exist that they just don't see. Like you were talking, Eric, with lenses. People view life from certain lenses, and if we can show them a different lens, that's powerful. So thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks for holding the space for this.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.